Do you read me?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me? Over.
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. I say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Get some what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Pacho right here in the field op. Hey, it's Thursday, baby Friday night eve, but goddamn, it's almost the weekend. As you can, some of you tell, I'm still somewhat mobile. For those of you who have asked on some of the chats, my daughter's doing pretty well. I mean, actually too well, if you ask me. Excuse me. When I had that similar surgery, I was out of commission for about, a good 2 solid weeks, and the pain was pretty excruciating. So, but, you're talking to somebody who's, a little bit more seasoned. She's, 26, just turned 26 this last weekend. So a shout out to the P, happy birthday. Bobby loves you, and we all care about you, and you're healing up. So I'm right here still playing that, but let's get all the pleasantries out of the way before we get started with the show. Hey, the show is brought to you by, obviously, the Money Pro. When was the last time you had a good evaluation as to, so where you stand financially, and are you on track to, hitting that mile marker of when you decide, whenever it is that you want to stop working and basically kind of, enjoying that next stage in life. Well, just remember that retirement is not an age. It's an actual financial figure. So if you want to find out more, the way it works is very easy. You could go to the website meetthemoneypro.com, and they'll give you some very specific strategies and techniques that you can start implementing right away, so you can really hit your financial target goals. So you can start planning now right now, because it's never too late. This program was developed for folks who because people are concerned about the market, concerned about your investments. Specifically, the last couple of days, we've been dealing with phone calls from many different clients. So people have concerns. So go to meetthemoneypro.com. You'll get a free 1-hour strategy session. Well, they'll give you some very specific strategies and techniques that you can start applying right away, so that you can really hit those target financial goals, or whatever they may be. Okay, so meetthemoneypro.com. Watch that little video on there, and then book your free 1-hour strategy session. No pressure, no commitment, just good information. If it makes sense at the end of the whole thing, and we could talk about it a little bit more. That's pretty much it. This week, I've been talking with some veterans about their cares and benefits. There's a lot of good information out there, and some good channels on TikTok as well as YouTube about the PAC Act and some of the other things. So I highly encourage you to utilize, and if you need help with this, you can hit me up at the show. I'll help you if you want to, but put in your veterans claim is what I'm trying to say. I can't get the marbles out of my mouth, but get your veterans claim started, get the clock ticking. And then if you have questions about it, it's pretty easy. The website is to submit a claim is pretty self-explanatory. It's gotten better over the last couple of years. So, but if you need to beef up your claim, or you want to appeal one, please hit me up, and we'll be, I'll help you get all taken care of. The point here is that get that clock ticking, because if it takes 5, 6, 7 months to receive an outcome, you're going to get a lot of good back pay. And then maybe you want to invest it and do something smart with that money, so that way you can be good in a couple of years down the road. All right. And this show also supports. We're all about freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, all that good stuff. So if you like what you hear, like, subscribe, and follow. And if not, then check out the folks at Sitchradio.com. They've always supported our show. They've helped us get the word out there. And Brian is a great, outstanding coach and mentor who, if you want to get to the podcasting game and get your word out there or your show, hit him up. He'll be more than glad to provide you some tips and techniques to get you where you want to be, whatever that may be. All right. So, and then those of you who listen to us via Facebook and all the other channels, please don't forget to help the analytics, help me pass the word, and subscribe to my other channels on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and all that good stuff. Okay, just help me out with the analytics for a little bit. All right. Okay, so I think that's all the pleasantries out of the way. Today, I wanted to talk about a subject that's kind of near and dear to my heart, being an entrepreneur. Here we talk, there's no fluff, no filter, just, the epic showdown when a lot of us find ourselves getting ready to just, cross that gate, Poga's gate, right there at the wire, and you're getting ready to throw your boots on the wire and basically put the Marine Corps behind you or whatever branch of service, that base in your rear view mirror. A lot of us think about, okay, do I want to join a corporate job or go, be an entrepreneur? And shout out to the folks that are listening to us right now. What's up, Angel? Big shout out to you and supporting our show, as well as, the wife is on the line right here as well. So after the military, a lot of us, hey, what do I want to do when I grow up, right? Do I want to, the security and the cushiness of a 9-to-5 job, or do I want to kind of build something of my own? And here's the kicker, though. Both of them have perks, and they also come with pain. So one comes with a guaranteed paycheck as well as PTO, and I call those the hook. And the other, well, it does come with late nights, chasing your dream and all that good stuff. Both have, pay, they have their payoffs and all that good stuff. But, everything has pros and cons, right? So when you're going into the corporate world, and I'm here to tell you, I'm here to tell you that, I've served both of these masters, okay? So what comes with having a corporate job? Well, you have what they call stability, benefits, structure path, obviously, health insurance. Now you have the power to say, F it, I quit. I know when I was a young troop, I was like, man, I cannot wait to, quit my job. So that way, that because I can't tell Gunny to go screw himself off and whatever. It's predictable. The other thing is that it's predictable income, just like, being in the military, 1st and 15th, bam, the eagle did its thing and you got your paycheck, right? But and obviously, but you got company hours, schedule hours, and then, depending on the job, some companies now offer 3 weeks, pay time off. But, on the other side, you still have a chain of command. I mean, that, and then you may even be overly qualified, end up working for somebody who, which is whatever. I mean, in my case in point, obviously, I was more qualified than the person I worked for. Doesn't really matter, because even as a, when I was still in the military and I was an officer, IC. And obviously I had staff NCOs and senior enlisted that knew more, and I wanted to know more than me, because they're the ones. That's how I got made my decisions based on their decisions. But on the other side, you still got to play politics. Maybe, and it's a little different in the military, because obviously, if you have an issue, you can always run to that sergeant, that because I have all, in the Army, everybody's a sergeant, but you can go to that E6, E7, somebody that you can, hey, Gunny, hey, Sergeant First Class, I have this staff and this E6 he's on my behind, blah, blah. And then, they'll have your back. On the civilian, it's been my experience that, people are not as loyal in the private sector to some degree. So, people play games. So, it's kind of like when I was a warrant officer in the Marine Corps. I can't speak for the other armed services, but in the Marine Corps, us warrant officers, we have this maybe a little bit negative connotation that we're like the lieutenant killers or the ass chewers, this salty old person that doesn't take any shit from any rank or officers, whatever. But as giving a shout out to Matt Max, who's been on our show, the ass you chew today might be the one you kiss tomorrow. So there's a lot of politicking that goes in the civilian when you're trying to figure out your manager's needs. In 3 fucking meetings to approve a goddamn stapler. I mean, I remember being in meetings, I was like, oh my god, I just want to do my job. I need to write the safety program or whatever it was. So you go from going to mission first to let's circle back on that. Hey, let's and then talk about cadence. For me, cadence was left, right, but let's put it in a cadence. I'm like, what the fuck is that, dude? Just the adapting of military directness to corporate diplomacy, or just being just trying to be culturally correct. It's pretty daunting. I mean, it was exhausting. I was like, oh my god, I just want to get this stuff done. Hey, here's the bottom line. Can you just tell me what that is? Let's still circumventing. But it was just one meeting after the other, and then I'm dating myself. But if you ever watch the movie Office Space, that movie is amazing because it is. I mean, I lived that movie through and through for 2.5 years. It was ridiculous. So with entrepreneurship, I like to call that and I've always favored this being an entrepreneur. It's kind of like being in the Wild Wild West. So yeah, you get autonomy, you get freedom, you get purpose, and you get to build something that's strictly yours. And for me, I like this kind of pressure because I don't need the pressure. I don't have to beg somebody, hey, I need some time off because I have, my VA appointments. Excuse me. And pretty much all of us here, I mean, everybody here can attest that going to the VA, is a half-day trip all in itself, even if you're just going to go pick up meds. Because unfortunately, especially if you go to the main hospital, it's just it's you gotta sit and wait for your meds. A short appointment is an hour or two. So I need a job that gives me that flexibility. And unfortunately, as much as most jobs say, hey, we're military friendly, we're this and that, eventually you're going to have that manager getting to you, hey, you're taking up way too much time off, and when it really isn't, right? But as an entrepreneur, I control my own time, I have my own vision, and I make my own impact. So I'm the one controlling the destiny. As I'm building something that's going to morph into something bigger, clearly, if I'm not there, I'm not making money. The great thing that's for me, what has been so far is that I've been right here. I've been here with, as I said, I've been here taking care of my daughter. If I was in a corporate, and I've been here for, I'll be here for pretty much next week. I'll be leaving, but I wouldn't have been able to do that had I been in a corporate job. Maybe if I would have applied for LMFA, Limited Medical Family Leave Act, FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act, FMLA, I would have been able to be here, but I would have, and it would have been unpaid, basically. So, yeah, what's tough about it is that, yeah, while there not be, a steady paycheck, you're self-funded, and, you wear 18 hats all at once. The rewards of it is that at the end of the day, I still get my, you're kind of like the CEO and the janitor, the IT guy and everybody else, or, and customer service too. Shit. I mean, I do that too as well, all before lunch, but, I like it. The advantage that we have as veterans is that we're disciplined. we know how to solve problems on the fly, and whether we're in a field exercise or in combat. We solve things, and we're really good at solving stuff under pressure. I mean, can I get an amen on that? Hell yeah. And it's kind of like a never-ending field up, except you chose that path on purpose to some degree. Again, now that I'm doing this, it's just because as I've, my medical issues and the other things, this has been the most optimal that I'm able to work around all those things because, at my corporate job, it was starting to become a bit of an issue. So, so if we were to compare both of them, again, corporate, one pro is that stability, and until maybe one day, which it has been happening quite a bit, a lot lately. Because again, I track, I've been tracking a lot. Obviously, I have to, but Collins Aerospace just had some massive layoffs. Which, by the way, shout out to my former manager. They were let go. Karma, go figure, right? Karma. However, other employees so that's kind of one of the things. Whether you want to quit that job or not, unfortunately, that job may quit you, right? On the corporate job, you don't have freedom. I mean, you got somebody who's, you got to tell them, hey, when you got to ask for permission when you got to go to, go on vacation. If you got medical appointments, take care of the little ones, whatever the case may be. On the other side, on the entrepreneur side, you do have that a little bit of chaos at times, but excuse me, but you still have freedom. There's on the corporate side, you got a chain of command, lots of chain of command. You got the site manager, your manager, the this, the that, and God forbid you kind of snap back at somebody, and then you're now you're kind of standing at the position of attention, getting written up for whatever reason because the other person just their feelings just couldn't take it. So, but on the entrepreneur side, I mean, you are the chain of command, so you just answer to you, right? Weekends off, depending on corporate job, usually for the most part, again on the entrepreneur side, hey, it's you're out there on the grind and hustling, but again, the payoff is. Although you're trading off that freedom for a little bit, the payoffs are much better. Okay, the pay on the corporate side, obviously, again, it's steady, but here's the thing: it comes with a cost. It's a leash. I had the good pay, but I was trying to figure out, my manager, here's the type of leadership that, just to give you an insight with the shit that I dealt with. When at the beginning of the year, this individual, me being a good leader, I would let, I would even would leave. I mean, I never denied, I pretty much never denied leave. I mean, Marine, unless we were like doing, day shift, night shift, because our maintenance was so jacked up, pretty much everybody could go on leave. But here's how civilians work. The person, and I'm not even going to call a manager because they weren't even a leader, but this individual, she would go ahead on the vacation schedule. She would be the first one. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, I go ahead and I already put in my vacation. Go ahead and fill in the blanks. Where it's, as a leader, it should be the other way around, because I want my team. The better, if I sacrifice that, I know I'm going to get a lot back from my team. As when I'm asking for work or just a much better product. So you may get that time off. You may get that time off, but don't be surprised if they ask you to move your stuff around, because it's not in line with the company. I mean, on the entrepreneur side, I mean, it's a roller coaster. I mean, you could get. I'm sorry, we're talking about pay, but I was talking about time off. Yeah, it's steady on the entrepreneur side. It's a roller coaster. Again, that's the payoff, and that's kind of like, motivates you to keep grinding and keep doing better, because in a year or two, you put that time and effort, you're gonna hit gold. You're gonna hit gold, just like I talked in a minute of the show about being 3 feet of gold from gold. Once once you do it, it's that much better. And and obviously purpose. And a corporate job, maybe, you just dangle that carrot. Oh, I'm just do this, I'm good to go. Whereas, on the entrepreneur side, I mean, it's personal as it gets. So you have that purpose. Hey, this is what I believe in. This is what I'm going to go. You just got to keep, and you got to keep grinding. And the great thing about us, service members, is that we grind. We have our purpose, and once we fix on that target, cancel Christmas. So, things that you want to think about. I mean, are you the type that thrives with structure or with freedom? I prefer freedom. I can create my own structure. I mean, I've always been good at that. I mean, I would have, achieved the things that I achieved had I not, because nobody told me, hey, this is how you, this is how you become a warrant officer. I knew, there's ways how to fill out the packet, but as far as, how to do it, because you could do the basic, but if you don't go above and beyond, what you think, okay, I have this going, this is what I want to do, or any type of program in the military or even as a civilian, and do you want to climb a ladder? Do you want a ladder to climb, or a mountain, or a mountain to build? And I'm here to tell you that, in corporate jobs, the higher you climb, the narrower the next step to get to the next step it becomes. I'm in order for me to get anywhere at that site, my supervisor would have to leave, and that wasn't going to happen. As civilians, they love to just basically, homestead. Oh, this is good. I'm comfortable. I'm a manager. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to die here. So I would either have to leave, or that person would have to, move on, and that wasn't going to happen. So the signs were there for me, where I'm going to, I decided to build that my own mountain, and then, are you ready to lead yourself, or do you prefer a guide? Do you prefer somebody that, maybe they know what they're doing and they know how to lead? And, we didn't have that. Again, I'm talking about the last couple of years. So again, I've always been kind of like my own individual. So I know I know what needs to get done. Don't get me wrong, I'm human sometimes. Like, shoot, man, I really want to watch this Netflix anime, whatever. But it doesn't really matter. So you just got to find the right fit, or a hybrid, or a combination of both. So there's not one size fits all. Maybe, you're starting a corporate role, and then you build some type of business on the side. Before I left my first corporate job after the military, I started kind of consulting on the side. I got my experience. I built a platform where people started knowing me. And when I pulled trucks, it was an easy transition where there was little to no impact financially. And I started consulting right away. Later on, now what I do in the financial industry, same thing. I started out part-time, and it was good. So, and you've had plenty of other veterans that have been on this show, where, Joe, my buddy Jay, who's doing millions and millions of dollars in contracting right now with the city of San Diego, among other areas. He started out as doing janitorial work, and I know all of us in the military, we're all good janitors. We know how to clean a floor, how to mop, how to buff a floor. I'm a beast still with a buffer. You know what I'm saying? So, you can start building something on the side, and maybe you just jump all in and learn as you go. I mean, FIFO, figure that F out. You know what I'm saying? So, what are some signs that you can think of that you might be a good fit for one or the other? Well, if you hate asking for permission, then I highly recommend that you go be an entrepreneur. And again, if you're whether you're retiring from the service, or you put in a VA claim, and once you get your VA claim, you got that extra steady, that income coming in, and you keep reapplying and getting 50, 60, 70%, you're still better off than the general population, than your civilian counterparts, because you have some type of steady income. coming in. Whereas your fellow civilians don't. Or if you're a retiree and you're applying also for VA benefits, now you're getting both of those things. So that gives you a little bit more flexibility because you don't have to jump immediately onto a job, right? But if you love structure, team, going on teams all the time, oh God, I hated that shit. And mentorship, then go corporate. Again, just be mindful that unless you're jumping into a company where they draw their pool of employees comes from prior military, your chances of finding a somewhat of, and don't get me wrong, there are good leaders out there in the civilian sector. However, your vision or your version of what a good leader is, because you've did 4 years, whatever many years in the military, might be a little bit skewed, and so it might be a letdown. So just be prepared for both leadership versus and following through. The question is, what mission do you want next? You know what I'm saying? So because there's no right or wrong. It's just what's right for you. So as you're getting ready to whether you're retiring or getting out of the military, you need to start kind of figuring out, okay, what is it that I want to do? Or maybe this is the time, for those of us who were in 20 plus years, this is the time to kind of figure out what it is that you want to do. I have heard many stories of like, man, from vets or retirees that got out. I was like, man, I did a corporate job for 6 months and I was effing miserable. The old, depends on the older, the more seasoned retiree that was in. It's usually, as when we're young, when I transitioned out of the service after I got out of my first enlistment, I actually I went back home and I tried many different things. I was like, man. And then when I immediately moved to California. I moved back to California because at that time I was with my kid's mom. I did the corporate thing. I worked, doing reprographics, which is just a fancy name for a copier, and all that good stuff. But check this out, a quick story. So I was working for this company. It was called, I don't know if it's even still there. It's called Anacomp. This company got bought out by Kodak. Those of you who've been around the block, Kodak used to make a lot of different products. They were primarily known for camera products. They used to make cameras. They used to make, when people used to take photos, oh shit, I'm going to blank, man. Anyways, the film that went inside the cameras that, when you make your pictures. So Kodak was known for that, making film, even for movies and things like that. Anyways, I was just out of the Marine Corps. I've been out for a couple of months. Now I was already married, and I was a reservist too. So, but when I used to do the mail route, I would go hand out mail, and being the good jarhead that I was, I would say, hey, good morning, Mrs. So and so. Here's your mail. Have an outstanding day. Motivate. Did I ever say kill or probably shit? I was still, very green out of the military. Anyway, so my manager, and by the way, there was a Marine who'd been out for a while. He was a former grunt. I think his name was John. So the manager pulls me and say, hey, Pacho, some of our, corporate people have been talking about you that you're, you're way too serious when you talk to them. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm not serious. I say, I give him the greeting of the day. I swear to God, I said, I give him the greeting of the day. I say, good morning. Have a great day. And I keep going. And she goes, well, it's too aggressive. So just think of this as your 2-week notice. If you don't fix it, then we're going to have to do something about it. I was like, what the fuck? That was pretty shocking. So, it's not as, but then again, this is 1996. We're almost at 2026. So this is like almost 30 freaking years later. So maybe we're kind of gentler nowadays, or maybe, hey, that you're way too manly. I don't freaking know. So who knows even how things will play out nowadays. The point is that, choose your pill or try things out. For those of you who are, my fellow people who did, many, many years, or, Yeah, exactly. Office space. Or if you want to try things out or try something different, that too. Again, the point is that you have leverage, unlike your fellow civilian counterparts. So what I would say is, whether you're in a cubicle or a coffee shop, building an empire. And believe me, my hangouts are local coffee spots, Starbucks, mom and pop shops. I do a lot of that. Make sure that your post-military life, that they give you purpose, because that's a lot of things that we as veterans, we struggle with. We're no longer associated. Um, in Angel's case in point, who's been on the show. I mean, I know she was an amazing record operator, and as well as and also a wrench turner. Uh, Me too. I started as a wrench turner, and we're all sold on this. We're all a basic infantry person. We're all that good stuff. Bark, bark, woof, woof. Motivate, motivate. And so after the service, that's what we struggle with. So make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, corporate, entrepreneur, doesn't matter, solopreneur, doesn't matter, that hey, it scratches that need for purpose, so to speak. So um, you know so basically that's pretty much it. I think this is a pretty good a pretty good place to stop. By the way, if you're looking for your next career move, or you want to build something on the side, we are looking to we are looking to hire. We are growing. We do pay for all the training. We do pay for all the amazing state licenses. If you want to learn more, no pressure, no commitment. Something makes sense, by all means, we could talk about it more. But at the end of the day, you do have choices. All right. So until next time, stay driven, stay grounded, and remember, this being a civilian is your mission. Is your mission now. So hit me up at the show. If you're ruminating, you're kind of struggling right now with thoughts and whatever else, and you need some guidance, hit me up, please. By all means, we just don't want you to be a statistic, and having to say nice things about you at your funeral, because nobody here wants to deal with somebody else, one of our own, committing suicide. So with that being said, everybody, Ice Tomas, Daisuki, take care, Ura, get some index. Bye bye, everybody.